Welcome to the Midlife Makeover Movement podcast. I am here with Coach Natalie V, probably one of my favorite people, although she doesn't know I've been admiring her from afar for a very long time.
Oh,
We
wow.
Yes, we met as colleagues in the same real estate industry out here in these real estate streets. And although we've never done a transaction together, I think we've maybe
Mm-mm.
seen Bold, we've been in Bold together, or we've kind of been
Yep.
running in the same type of leadership circles and the same cigar circles. So we just always just kind of happen to bump into each other. And from there, we became social media friends, and we've just kind of been watching each other's journey like from afar. And
hmm
Coach Natalie has made some bold moves recently, and I just couldn't wait to reach out to her to let her tell you a little bit about what that is. So I have her bio, but I want Coach Natalie to introduce herself, and we're going to get this party started.
Awesome. Well, obviously you heard her say Coach V, and that's because my last name is a little bit difficult to say. It's Vuoriaho. I was actually born and raised in Stockholm, Sweden. My mom is from Finland. My dad is East African, so I'm definitely multicultural. And diversity has always been something I'm used to and being involved in, so to speak. So um, I actually moved from, do you want me to kind of tell my story?
Yes, please do.
Okay. I feel like this is a storytelling session, so let me grab my coffee.
I need you to back up a little bit because I got to see that fabulous hat you have that you're wearing today. We're going to talk about that. That is like one of
Yeah, hats on
Natalie's
my thing.
signature.
So I actually moved from Sweden. I played basketball there, and I did not want to go professional in Europe as a 17, 18-year-old because you don't necessarily get paid. So I decided to go to university in the United States and picked out. This was in 1994, so I picked a big book of colleges back in the day before we had uh, email, if we had internet and all that stuff. So, and I chose to come to Atlanta, and I enrolled in Morris Brown College, which is the HBCU in Atlanta, and moved there at 17 and a half with two suitcases and knew not one person. And ended up, fast forward next year, actually 2024 is my 30-year anniversary of living in the United States. And I ended up moving to the United States, playing basketball, graduating from Georgia State University, had kids, got married, got divorced, still had my kids there. And fast forward now in 2020, my kids who are 21 and 26, they both moved to Sweden, which is where I grew up, and they both have been living there since 2020. I have gone through a lot of different career changes. I feel like change is important, and we need to really, really accept change and we evolve when there's change. And I have had about maybe 6, 7 different careers. The two most recent ones definitely was real estate. I started about 10 years ago in real estate. That's where we met. And it's been a great, great journey, not just because of real estate and making money and being able to be an entrepreneur, but more importantly, from all the relationships I've made through my real estate career, right? I've made a huge transition. I was together with a boyfriend 5.5 years. We just broke up in April. And by the way, I was married 15 years and got divorced. And one of the things when I went through that is I had a moment to figure out what is it that I want. When my kids moved away to Sweden in 2020, I still was in a serious relationship. I had my business in Atlanta, and I felt like I needed to be in the United States in Atlanta. After that relationship ended, I realized, you know what, I could be anywhere now. And so I actually am now, I'm in my apartment in Barcelona. So I'm living by Continental. I live in Barcelona, and I go back and forth between Barcelona and Atlanta. Still run my real estate company there, and I am building my coaching business up and roster up to be able to help other entrepreneurs like myself to scale their business to the point where they can really live life, right? Not have to be tied to working all the time, but having a good balance.
Wow. So we got a lot to unpack here. So we're going to back up a little bit. So I have a similar story to your HBCU story. And I was living in Michigan, and I actually was graduating from undergrad school in 1993. And I was like, I'm going to Atlanta and I'm going to go to grad school. And before the internet, like you, I went and I found this book of colleges, right? And so there's this college called Clark Atlanta University. And I was like,
It
I'm
was
going.
right down the street, girl. It was right down the street.
I know. So we were in the same space. So I kind of really had a similar story there. Like I just picked school just based on the name and, I just showed up.
But not only
And
that, we know that's when Olympics was coming to Atlanta in 1996. So that was one of my other things too, the weather and Olympics.
well, so we're going to tell this story. So mine was to get to Atlanta, yes, because of the weather. But what happened for me was I was living on campus in Beckwith Hall, and Freaknik, I tell the story, and it's not funny, but it's kind of funny. I say Freaknik came down the street, and I went along with it. I never went back to class after that. It's funny.
Wow.
So years later, though, I, like you, graduated from Georgia State. So I got my master's degree from Georgia State. So, I'm here to tell you, you can mess it up. Like you can go and you can go in your foolishness and you can find colleges not based on, all of this academic stuff, the way we pick schools, right? Sometimes you can just foolishly pick it and it still ends up being a great part of your journey.
It
So I ended
does.
up having
It
to go
absolutely
back
does.
to Michigan for a while to kind of get myself back together because it was just a lot at that time, and I ended up coming back. So I
Yeah,
thought that
Atlanta
was
will do
pretty.
that for you.
Woo, child. Atlanta was way too much from me. So back to like Sweden and playing basketball. So you played. So tell me, like, what gave you the courage to just decide, hey, I'm in Sweden. I'm playing basketball. Of all the places that you can be in the entire world, you chose Atlanta. But really, kind of what gave you the foundation and the courage to be able to make that move? Did you know anybody in the United States? Kind of tell me a little
Well,
bit
I
about that.
actually, yeah, I was an exchange student in between 92 and 93 in West Limestone, Alabama, which is a teeny weeny small town. Closest town to that is Athens. Closest town to that is Huntsville. And great experience. I'm still, in contact with the host family there. And obviously I'm mixed. I'm half black, half white, right? And the family was white. And this was in 92, 93. So there's still some segregation type of stuff going on. And so I actually played there. So I've always enjoyed being in the United States. I traveled like growing up. Everybody in Europe kind of travels. I'm never, I mean, since I was a little child, I've kind of been a daredevil. If somebody says they can't do it, I'm going to do it just to prove them wrong. That's been my personality. I'm an Aquarius. So it's like, all right, well, let's just roll with it, right? So I did already have some experience in the United States and wanted to come back here for sure. The other reason too is I knew that if I played college ball here, I could go back to Europe and play and get paid because that's normally where they recruit athletes to play professionally over there. Long story short, I did get pregnant while I was in college and ended up getting married to Tony, and who is my kid's father. Great guy. Just we didn't work out. To this day, we're friends. And what I did is just decided to stay in the United States because obviously I had created a family there at that point.
So that's awesome. Let's talk about cultural differences, right?
Oh,
So
wow.
hey, there's these major cultural shifts, not just from Sweden to Alabama, but the Alabama in Atlanta. So what kind of things did you have in place to adjust to those cultural differences?
I think that it starts with respect, right? Anytime that you're going to a different culture, you have to respect. Just, I always hear people say, "Oh, I went to whatever country, and it was just so weird. Everything was so different." And I'm like, it's not weird. It's not different. It's different, right? But it's not different for them. It's different for you, right? And so just respecting the fact that culture is different, and understanding it and kind of finding a way to fit into it without losing yourself. I think that's been the most important part. There's been times, as a matter of fact, I would say that when I first started making really, really great money and moving up in that, range as far as salaries, I did start noticing that I was taking on a lot of the American culture and materialistic side of things. Showing a big purse and going after wanting to have a nice car. Those things became important to me, which is not what European culture is at all. And thankful for a lot of my friends and the fact that I'm still traveling so much. My ex-boyfriend's mom actually works for Delta, Miss Betty. She's still my mom. And so I have flight benefits through her. So one of the reasons I'm able to live bicontinental is I'm her companion. So I only pay taxes, right? So my round trip is like $33 for me to fly back and forth. Huge blessing because it's allowing me to go back to Atlanta so much for my business and not have to pay for regular tickets. So with all that being said is, it's important that as you're moving to a different country or you're going to a different area, even from north of the United States to south to west to east, it's so different. But, embracing the cultures and understanding what makes them different and why maybe, but also keeping you to who you are. I think that's really what's made me be able to maneuver around the different cultures that I've been exposed to over the years.
That's interesting. So you're bicoastal and you didn't start off in the United States. How many languages do you speak?
Not bicoastal, bicontinental.
Oh, you're right. Bicontinental. Let me get it right. You're absolutely right. How many languages do you speak?
Right now I speak three. I'm working on Spanish. It's coming slowly but surely. Barcelona is such an international city, so everybody kind of speaks English. So it's been hard to really try to immerse myself in the language, so to speak. Plus, everybody wants to come and visit Barcelona, so I'm forever having visitors here, right, from the United States and Sweden. I speak Swedish and Finnish fluently, and English. And then I grew up. So I was very blessed to have different cultures. So my dad that raised me is from Sudan, Khartoum, Babiker. And for my first 10 years in my life, he spoke Arabic to me and Arabic back. So I actually understood Arabic. So growing up, I spoke 4 languages. I did lose Arabic after my mom and they split. And so, but every so often I still understand a few words. He keeps telling me that if I pick it back up, it will come back because I learned as a child. But my goal is to learn Spanish. So Swedish, Finnish, and English, and then hopefully Spanish shortly.
So I may be cheating a little bit, but I went to Barcelona this spring. So I know how magnificent that place is. But explaining to like our audience, like of all the places that you could be in the world, how did you choose Barcelona?
And I think I've been to like 45 countries so far. My goal is to hit 60. In 2 years, I'll be 60 years old, and I want to be hitting 15 more countries and then 2 more continents so I can hit all 7 continents. So that's what I have left. So with that being said, I knew I wanted to move back to Europe. My kids live in Europe. My mom and everybody's in Sweden. My mom is in great shape, and so is my stepdad and my dad, Bobby Kid. My biological dad passed away, but nobody's needing me right now. My kids are doing well. They're thriving. But I know there's going to be a day that I want to be able to be close enough that if I'm needed at home, I can get home pretty quickly. Barcelona is 3.5 hours away. I did not want to move back to Sweden because it is very dark in the winters there. It's at the same level as Alaska. So in the summer, the sun never goes down. Winter, the sun barely comes up, right? So I don't do well. Anybody knows me. We got like 3 or 4 cloudy days or dark days in Atlanta, and I'm on a flight, like even if it's just to Florida to get some sunshine. I don't do well in the dark. And when it was time to figure out where I was going to move, actually me and my boyfriend broke up, and I went to Cape Town for about 5 days just to kind of process the breakup, figure out what my next moves were, break the news to my family because, we were together for so long, everybody knew each other, and really process and heal. And during that time is when I decided I wanted to move back to Europe. As I started looking at which are the countries in Europe that I've always felt like home, I've been to Barcelona plenty of times, and every time I come here, it feels home. There's something about the city that just feels calm. It feels relaxing. It feels cultural. Music, food. It has a great airport. You have the mountains. You have the water. I can get on a train. I can get to France in 6 hours. I can get to Africa pretty easily. It's like in the middle of like everything. And so, and cost of living is very, very reasonable. So it was really between Portugal and Spain. I went to Portugal and spent some time in Portugal, and honestly just never spoke to my soul. And I knew Spain did, so I dipped from Portugal to Madrid and spent one day in Madrid just to be like, do I like Madrid? I loved it, but I am never going to be landlocked again. Atlanta, you're landlocked. So I knew that at that point it was Barcelona. I just started coming back and forth once a week pretty much since October and looking for apartments, looking at areas. and I found this great apartment to rent, and everything works exactly how it's supposed to. God is amazing. The guy that owns this apartment his mom lives downstairs, and this is right in the smack of middle of everything. And he actually lives in Atlanta, lives in Sandy Springs. His wife is
Wow.
American, and so I met them, and now I'm renting his space. It worked out perfectly.
Oh, so there's a lot to unpack here. So we're gonna back. I connect with you on so many levels. So here's what I've heard. There was a breakup. You became an empty nester. You kind of processed the breakup, and you just kind of decided, like, I'm out of here. So I would call you, for lack of better terms, like the queen of keep it moving. Right. So
Yeah,
what made this move for you? Because there's a lot going on here. You have a business here, you have property here, you have, you had like roots here. What
yeah.
was kind of like, as you started going down your decision tree about this is what's happened, right? It is what it is. It was an amicable split for you. For a lot of people, it's not, right? You
Mhm.
started thinking about, okay, these are my strengths, these are what I have, these are my transitions. Kind of walk us through how you made the decision to go from here to there, given all of the things you were considering.
I think the first part was what makes me happy. What is it that I want? And there was no like, can I do it? Will I do it? I mean, and I'm fully transparent. I mean, I normally make great money. You've seen my numbers, right? This year is going to be the lowest amount of money I've made in real estate, but I'm the happiest I've been. Like I get to decide what I do every day, right? I'm restarting second, not a second, another career because I want to have bigger impact. So this last year, 2023, I went and got certified to be a MAPS business coach because I've been coaching all my life. I used to coach basketball, and now I want to coach businesses. And I don't want to ever feel like I'm stuck in one location. When we get married, when we have children, when we have a career, when we have a business, when we start a business, we tend to get stuck in that situation for a period of time. What happened is all of that opened up at the same time for me. And so I had a lot of choices, but the first thing I had to do is what makes me happy? What makes Natalie smile? And one of the things is I love to travel. And if I can live out of a bag, I would, like literally. I kind of feel like I do now, but now I have three homes. I feel like I have my house in my mom's house. I have my own bedroom. It's got a full closet with clothes. When I go to see her, I leave tomorrow to go to Sweden for Christmas. I don't even have to bring clothes because I already have it. I got clothes here in the United States. I kind of feel like I have three places I can live, but travel was important to me. So I needed to make sure that I set up a life where I don't have to physically anywhere. So if I'm needed in Sweden for my kids, and when they decide to have families, if they decide to have families, my mom needs me, I want to be able to go to Sweden and be there for however long I need to be there. So that to me was the most important part. One of the things I've been chasing for the longest is freedom. And when I say freedom, people think freedom is just like you get to do what you want to do when you want to do it. Not necessarily, but freedom in finances, freedom in lifestyle, freedom in making a decision. And so that's kind of what I'm setting myself up now. Even though I didn't make a lot of money in real estate this year, it's not a panic mode. I'm still able to support myself because I have my duplex in Atlanta, that Airbnb. Started Airbnb my side out too. So when I'm here, I'm renting it out. Right now, I got two people staying on my both sides. And so it's giving me money to pay my bills. I don't have a lot of expenses. I don't buy expensive clothes and stuff anymore. I'm actually thinking about selling my car because I feel like I don't need it. The 10, 15 days I'm in Atlanta, I might as well Uber everywhere. I'm on a train line. I might say, take that. So I'm going back to my roots of like living simpler. And the only thing you'll see me with, it's going to be my hats now. But I mean, I don't buy designer clothes. I don't buy designer bags. I'm actually gotten rid of almost every single one except two. And it just doesn't, what's important is what I'm focused on, which is what makes me happy. And so that's where I started. And then from there is what do I need to do to make that happen? And so I'm still working on that plan, and the plan is in place. My goal is to have 5 new coaching clients next year, is to add one more person on my team. so that we have more boots on the ground in Atlanta for my real estate business. Because even though I'm here, I'm still working. As a matter of fact, before we got on, I was working on an amendment to address repairs for a client of mine, right, on a listing of mine. So, and I have a new listing that we're launching. So we're still working. I want to work from anywhere in the world.
I want to pause here because one of the things that you and I have in common, well, you said a couple things. The first is that, for a while, you started getting caught up in the materialism of, the culture of the United States, and you just really kind of had to unpack that. And travel is very important to you. And it sounds like you and I make decisions the same way. And generally for me is, okay, how is what this cost me going to impact how I can travel? So I, like you, am like all about how is this going to lead me more into my freedom journey, or is this going to kind of be an anchor around my ankle to prevent me from soaring? So I think that's huge. And you one of the things that I heard you say is that being free is like a step, like it's a journey, it's a continuum. It's not just all of a sudden I'm free and I can do whatever I want to do. It sounds to me like you started kind of moving into your freedom journey by letting things go along the way. Is that sound right?
100%. Like when I sold my condo, I always had a dream of, being able to house hack. So I actually bought a property that was in horrible shape. I mean, it was mold. It was a trap house. It was a duplex in the city of Atlanta. You saw it. And I fully gutted it out, renovated in the 203K loan. And my mortgage is literally, and if it's okay, I'll be totally transparent. My mortgage right now is $1,900. And I basically have a 2-bedroom, 2-bath on one side and a 3-bedroom, 2-bath on the other. Fully renovated, brand new. Like, I don't have no problems with my property, Homewood. And, right now, December has been a killer month for both of them. But on average, on the Airbnb side, when I was living on the other side, I was making $2,500. So it was paying my mortgage. Now when I'm renting my side out too, my side and the Airbnb side for the 2 weeks I'm here or gone anywhere else in the world, I'm making enough to pay for my apartment here and for my mortgage. So I'm basically living rent-free and mortgage-free.
So that's where I want to pause, because I feel like going back to I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad probably in 1999. So like a long time ago. So nearly 25 years ago. And a lot of times we start believing that in order to free ourselves, it takes this huge leap or this huge situation. So let me unpack what you said. I started getting rid of my expensive things. I moved out of my condo that I was paying for just myself. I moved from having a liability similar with, having that condo, if you think about it in terms of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, to moving into an asset, one where I could house hack, where one side of it would pay for the other. And then I decided that even though I haven't made a lot of money in my career because the money was no longer making me happy, freedom is what I was truly after. I started making some different decisions. And you think about that, it happened over not a very long period of time, but you were very intentional about saying, hey, the things that were once my priority, which were my boys, are now taken care of. I'm not anchored to this space because they're not here. A business that was once very important to me, I can find a different way to do it. I set up a little bit of infrastructure, and now I'm free to go create a life that just serves what brings me joy.
You know when that happened? COVID.
Yes, tell me about that.
So 2020 was, of course, COVID was horrible overall, period. But for my family, COVID really uncovered a lot of opportunities. My oldest one restarted his college career. He used to go to Georgia Southern, that didn't work out, so he moved back to Atlanta. 2020 January, he moved to Sweden to restart. He's at, restart button, and he's getting ready to graduate. He's finishing up his thesis right now in Sweden, and we were just talking about what does he want to do, and he's like, maybe I'll move to Spain, or I love it here. Maybe I'll go and become a flight attendant, just travel the world. I said, son, do whatever you want, right? My 20, who's now 21, he graduated 2020, and he looked at his brother and went, well, shoot, he went to Sweden. I might as well go too, because college is going to be online. So not only did I become an empty nester, I became an empty nester to two that moved overseas. When I tell you it's the best thing that's happened, because European lifestyle is so different. Both of my kids are going to school for free. They now have no student loans and going to be graduating. The youngest one is graduating in the spring of next year. They're adjusted. They love it. Love Europe, love Sweden, and they have healthcare that's free. If they decide to have kids over there, maternity leave is for 365 days. Healthcare is free. Education is free. Daycare is free. I mean, everybody is equal. You don't have to ever worry about struggling. They'll have retirement set up for them without having to go out here and grind, grind, grind. So COVID created an opportunity for my kids to just say, you know what, we're just going to go to Sweden, and they loved it. What it did for me too is I was always out and about in Atlanta. If there was a party, big thing, Nat was invited. Nat was there. Nat was always out. And when COVID hit and everything shut down, it's interesting how many people did not call to check on me. I noticed that I was checking on a lot of people, and the people that normally would always talk to me during COVID just kind of disappeared because I wasn't an asset to them. I couldn't promote their party. I couldn't bring people in. Me and my girls wouldn't fly at the party because there was no party at the time, right? And so I kind of took a step back and went, hold on, why do I have all this nice stuff? We ain't really doing that. We ain't really going nowhere. And then I started really digging down to what's important. My friendships that I really spent time with during COVID are the ones that have continued to flourish. They're the ones that are giving me nourishment in my soul when I need it, when I don't need it. It's my crew, it's my tequilas, I call them. And it really made me realize during COVID that the things that I thought was important because I was in that, gotta be out, gotta be seen, I'm a real estate agent, gotta post this, gotta that, wasn't important anymore. And so even though COVID was not horrible and, we lost so many people, amazing people, what I do think it taught us was it's time to slow down, and the things that they used to think seemed like it mattered doesn't.
Wow.
And even real estate, like I'm sold the same amount without having to be out there. I leverage my resources. And after COVID, I worked no more than 20 hours a week, and I still sold between 10 and 12 million a year, right? Outside of this past year, but that's because I've totally took my eyes off real estate and really focused on me and focused on coaching and getting certified and setting this move up, going back and forth to Spain every week to figure out where I'm going to live was a lot. So now 2024, I'm going to, get my real estate business back up and going because I want to make sure that I can provide for my team and then build my coaching business up. And so that way next year in December, if we do a recap, I'll probably be in Thailand and Vietnam for like a month and a half. That's my goal. Well, and I'll work from there.
That's excellent. So, we say in bold, our bold law, your business grows to the extent that you do. And so while I believe that you may have thought, well, I'm not selling as much, I believe that you've probably grown your business exponentially by just focusing on yourself over this past year. And once you've got these fundamentals down and you put in some infrastructure, you can pivot however you need to. The business is going to continue to come. You and I both know that. So we've talked about your successes, right? You've been very successful in being able to pivot and think and make a move. And what have been some of your challenges to make?
Oh, wow. Mindset for sure. I mean, I had that about 2 days ago. I had to bring out my journal and start doing some affirmations, right? Because, in Keller Williams, like we're about to have awards and stuff. And this is probably the first year since I've been full time where I'm not going to be top 10 in my office, right? But I know why, right? But in my mind, I'm going, oh my God, people are going to see that I haven't sold. But I have to stop worrying about what people think.
And so how many of them moved to Barcelona?
Right, exactly.
Those people?
Right. And I know that if I wanted to, I could have built a huge team and made millions of dollars a year, but would that have made me happy? It doesn't. So I just have to make sure that I work on what I want and what my journey needs to look like and stop comparing myself to other people's outsides, what we call it, right? Because I don't know what they're going through. I know what my goal is. I want to have the freedom to be able to, right now my goal is to be able to sell enough real estate to be able to purchase something here cash, right? And so purchase a condo here in Spain for cash. So I have 2 assets, right? And then renting them out. I'll probably still be in this apartment because I really love the location, but at least having a home in Barcelona too, that when my kids want to come and visit, they can go, right? And it's something I can leave them later on. And so I just, mindset is one. Two, traveling, just figuring out a routine for me because there's a 6 hour time difference. That's been a little bit of a challenge. I think I've kind of nailed it down now. I start working here at 3 p.m. I don't normally go to sleep here until like 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning, which is about 7, 8 in the United States. And my goal is when I'm home, I go to sleep early too, unless I have an event to go to, right? So I try to stick in the same time zone all the time so I don't consistently have to deal with jet lag. I'm knocking on retirement's door. And so that's a little scary. And so really trying to figure out how am I going to be able to afford this kind of lifestyle to the point where I'm able to support myself and still not have to work unless I want to work. And I think coaching will always be there for me because I love to help people and coach people and see them being successful. And I think that was one of the reasons I knew that this would be a good path for me because we all know we don't have a big retirement set up when we've done real estate unless you set up a lot of money on the side. So I would say mostly mindset and now honestly health. Health I've been sick a lot lately. Like this cold has been dragging. That's why I sound like this for 2 weeks. And so health is something I need to focus on as I'm doing these transitions because using your mind a lot, traveling a lot, it does affect your health. So, and I hate to work out, so I'm trying to find things to do that I will enjoy. So like hiking, I want to start horseback riding again, and that's actually a great workout. I was just thinking to myself, like in the spring, maybe I can learn how to surf, take some surfing lessons. That's outside. I'm going to buy some rollerblades so I can start rollerblading. Everybody rollerblades out here in Barcelona, right by the beach. So I'm just trying to find fun ways to exercise and get my heart beating because, I'm about to be 48 and, everything kind of slows down. Your body slows down and you're like, what the heck?
Right,
So,
right. One of the things that I love about the story is that how you've transitioned through the phases of real estate. So, starting off as an agent and then becoming an investor and not just like, I got to buy all these rental houses, right? But then now moving into the coaching and really just kind of sharing your story with other people who are, like, how do I do this? Like you said, most of it has been mindset and really being focused on you that you've said, I am not going to be defined by this one aspect of what we do in this business. Keller Williams International is one of those wonderful things because there's offices all over the world. And so what you decided that you would do is you would tap into what does that look like for me? How do I tap into this network that I've created? And then how? Because what I have to believe is that you're not the only agent who wants to figure out how to move to another country. And what is the impact to my business?
I'm glad you said that. So
I
actually thought I was going to start a real estate team in Barcelona, in Spain. And Swedes and Finns, a lot of us Swedish and Finnish people move here too. And there's a lot of Americans that want to move here. And what I realized really quickly is the way real estate is done here, I would probably lose all my hair, be totally gray-haired before it's all over with. I mean, I couldn't even get agents to help me look for an apartment. And so I realized really quickly, I don't want to spend the amount of hours and time and energy it will take for me to master and learn this industry here and understand it because it's so culturally different that I have pivoted now. And so I will have my MAPS business coaching, which is I'm coaching other businesses, right? No matter what kind of business it is, at the end of the day, the systems and models are going to be pretty much the same. Most business owners or people in sales are battling the same issues, and really, as a coach, I help them with finding out what the blinders are, coming up with strategies, figuring out how they can stop working in their business and work on their business, right? And I know that I've been able to do that very, very well with my business, and that's been because I've had coaches, right? So my first coach was my productivity coach, Regina Polk. Regina. Good dear friend of ours. I call her my angel, right? Our bold coach, Rob Daniels, right? Had a huge impact on me. Melanie Peters, Bridget Stewart, they were my other coaches. And so I've had all these coaches. So I understand that you always need that. My last coach that I had, we had a really great conversation. And that's actually when I decided to pivot into coaching. And I am I actually wrote a class, How to Work with International Clients. And I taught it in Kabul last year. I'm going to start teaching at a KW offices around the world as I travel so that I can give back to those companies, those agents in those areas when I go to travel. But I'm working on writing a curriculum now on how to relocate overseas as an American, kind of, right? And so, or how to have, a dual phone, like living bicontinental like me. And I'm going to start having classes and teaching people how to do it and have a network of real estate agents all around the world, KW agents that will be able to help those clients as they're deciding to relocate overseas or buy a retirement property, buy investment property overseas, however, or be a nomad, travel all around. So that's kind of that's my calling now. I want to be able to teach and train and coach and just help people with their process because I have a European passport, so things are a little bit easier for me when it comes to getting here. But that's not always the case. So I want to make sure that I can walk people through it. I have a network of attorneys here that I'm connected with here in Barcelona now. So we're kind of talking together of how we can make this happen.
Man, that is fantastic. So you're having a conversation with someone who is just kind of stuck. They feel like they're stuck in a situation. They are being buried by their business. They're not living. They want to throw their whole life in the trash. What piece of advice would you give someone who's like coming up on empty nest or going through a divorce or, leaving a relationship? Kind of how do they process that? Like, how do they start when they just come to you and they say, I don't even know how to start? What does that look like?
Yeah, I know. Well, you kind of said a couple of things there. A business owner would be a little bit different because as a coach, I don't necessarily tell them what to do. I ask them a lot of questions. So for a business owner, I might say, what is your biggest challenge right now? What is the one thing that's holding you from being happy with your business? And then really listen to what their answers are. So a lot of it is questions to figure out that what is that one thing? Half of the time when they want to just throw in, the towel and fold their business, there's normally one thing behind it that's making them feel that way. If we could just tackle that one thing, they might actually love their business. And half of the time for small business owners, it's the fact that they don't feel like they have any time away from their business. They feel like they're working all the time, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that would be it. So there's not necessarily a, hey, just go do it, right? It's going to be more coaching when it comes to that. Now, somebody that's getting ready to be an empty nester and just, it's more life, right? My advice to them would be, sit still for a second, figure out what makes you happy and embrace the change and find your tribe. One of the things I always give as advice when people get married, when people become parents, when people go and get a high level stress job is make sure that the people that were there for you before, like if you get married, if you were already a sister, you were girlfriend to your friends, you maintain those relationships because you never know if that marriage ends. And if it does, you have to have those other friendships that are still there. When you become a parent, you're still a sister, you're still a daughter, you're still a friend, you're still a wife. You got to make sure that those parts of your relationship stays intact, even though it seems like kids take all the hours out of your day, right? You just want to make sure those are still intact. So it really starts with when big life changes happen, make sure you don't lose yourself in that one thing. That's one.
Hold on, I want to pause there. Was that something that you were always good at, or was that something that you realized you had lost and you gained it back?
I think it's something I was always good at because I'm an Aquarius and I get bored easily. So when I got married with at 20, I got pregnant at 20, got married at 20, had my son at 21. And I still had my friends and my family, and I didn't spend as much time with them, obviously, with a small kid, but I did feel the need of like friendships and my family. I still spent the time and went home every summer with the kids and, in the neighborhood, all the moms, we were friends. A lot of our friends were common friends. Thankfully, my divorce wasn't amicable. We just kind of grew apart because all of our friendships could kind of still stay the same, right? But if it wouldn't have been, it would have been weird. Now the families had to choose. Did they choose me or did they choose him? Right? And so I think I've always kind of had that in me. When even this last relationship that ended, we just we started one. He's a great guy too, Dennis. He was the love of my life. Like I always tell people, how's the love of your life? You guys are not together. I mean, it's very simple. It's just that what he wanted now and what I wanted was very different. As my dad passed away during COVID, my grandmother just passed away in April, I'm sorry, yeah, around the beginning of the year. I just felt the need to want to be back home to Europe. And I didn't think that that aligned with what he wanted. He wanted more properties in Atlanta, things like that. And so we just kind of, what we felt were important started looking differently. And what I think it's important for people to understand is it's okay. And it's okay to then say, you know what, this is not working. And just shift. That's why I was asked, what will make you happy? And sometimes what that happiness is change. Right now, I say travel. You know what? Later, maybe happy means sitting in the same little square mile area and just hanging out in the neighborhood, and taking care of my grandkids. Like I don't know what that's going to be like 10 years from now.
Right.
But for now, chase your happiness because it's only one of you and you were put on this earth to make you happy, not anybody else. Because if you're not full, if you're not happy, you can't be good for nobody else. So I think that's my biggest advice to people. And my kids see that. I'm so happy that my kids have seen me evolve via real estate as a business owner. When I told them that me and my ex-boyfriend broke up, both of my kids asked, are you okay? And they'll go, yeah, I'm fine. It's going to be a change, but I'm excited about the change. I'm actually now going to move somewhere to Europe. I want to be closer to you guys. And they go, you know what? I know you're going to be okay. Because one thing we know, you're always going to end up on top, Ma. And I'm like, the fact that my kids can say that, and I've instilled them their same mentality that when things happen, they just, hey, get back on the saddle, babe. It's not the end of the world. Like, it's going to be okay.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I really kind of feel like you're an unconventional woman, right? And you've lived a very unconventional life. And one of the things I've always admired about you is that I've never seen you be apologetic about it. This is just who I am, like a take it or leave it, but not in your face kind of way. But definitely
sometimes it is. I rub people the wrong way because I'm very transparent. I'm very blunt. I'm very transparent. And so sometimes I rub people the wrong way. But I will also say this: I might rub people the wrong way, but because I'm such a positive thinker, what I've noticed lately when I've really embraced who I am, like I'm not allowing negativeness around me. I'm not allowing, people that I mean around me. Like I'm gonna check it if that's happening. Like and I'm not saying I'm perfect. I sometimes have dark thoughts too. I had a bout of depression. As a matter of fact, if you want to dig into that, I'm more than happy to share that.
Yeah, let's talk about it because I didn't know that. So yeah,
and so one of the things
at the end of the day, your conversation is, I got it. But what you and I both know is that those dark times happen. You mentioned a little bit about it during COVID, but explore that a little bit because here's what I know. There are probably some women out there thinking, I just don't have it like that. I just don't have that kind of confidence. I just can't make those thought processes that way. And so, it may appear that, life is just kind of steady for you.
It's not. It's not. First of all, let me start by saying when they say I can't do that, yes, you can. Because if I can do it, you can do it, right? That's our motto at KW. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, I just don't have it in me, I don't have the confidence, well, then build it, right? Start small. Start reading some self-help books. Start telling yourself you're beautiful. Start telling yourself you deserve love. Start telling yourself you're a successful business owner or you're going to be able to conquer whatever it is that you want to do. Like start talking to your brain to tell your brain to believe it, right? So when I hear that, people said it to me all the time, but everything comes easy to you. No, it does not. Listen, there have been days this year that I laid in bed. I give myself a day of laying in bed. Day 2, something's wrong. And sometimes I just need to shut down. Like I just need to, I don't have it in me to go out there in the world and be happy today. And I go, you know what? I'm just going to binge watch something and I'll be in bed a day. And I'm okay with that. If it starts going to 2 or 3 days, now there's a problem, right? I swore to myself that I will never go into depression like I did. This was in 2014. I got my real estate license. I was a teacher, high school teacher at the time. I only did one transaction that year. 2015, I was teaching and doing real estate. The extra check was like, what? You got right? Because I had this regular salary too. When I went full time around 2016 or so, I stopped. I went full time and they basically gave up my teaching job. So I had a paycheck until August. September rolled around. I had zero under contract, zero active clients. And I was looking around and I got no more paycheck. I was raising my two sons at the time. And my ex-husband, was contributing some, but I wasn't going to be like one of those women that try to go after him for child support. He was a teacher as well, not making a lot. So, wasn't a lot of money coming in. He wasn't no baller, right? I didn't have no $20,000, child support check coming in. I had $600 a month coming in. And so there's quite a bit, to try to survive there. And I had no money coming in. I was already $40,000 in credit card debt because teachers don't make a lot of money. So every time I needed to do tires, I had to put it on a credit card. Kids needed to play sports. It was on a credit card. And I was like, all right, today I'm going to get up and go to work. And Regina Polk was my productivity coach at the time. And I took Ignite with her. And I remember being in there. And then what happened is my grandfather got really, really sick. Me and my grandfather was like this, and my grandma who just passed away were like this. I spent every holiday from school in Finland in their house, right? Running the streets with my cousins since I was a little baby. That was the first time where I really felt isolated and alone in the United States of America. I have no family here at the time, except my kids, right, who are all depending on me. My ex-husband and I had divorced. I had moved back to Atlanta, so I had a few of my friends there, but I was too proud to tell them what was going on. Nobody knew. My mom and they are so supportive that if I would have told them, they would have wrote me what kind of a check. My dad that raised me, if I would have called Bobby Kid, my mom Hannah, if I would have called my uncles, they would have all wrote a check and be like, what you need? I refused to tell them that because first of all, my mom was very skeptical about me going in real estate and leaving a regular job. So I wasn't going to tell her she was right.
Right.
Sorry, I might get a little teary-eyed for this because it's emotional. Every time I talk about it, it always brings me up. And actually, when I teach real estate agents, I always tell this story because we all have those stories, right? And my grandfather got really, really sick. Then he got better, got sick, got better. It just kept on going up and on. And that emotional roller coaster, because I was like, do I need to come home? No, he's getting better, don't. And even when I said, do I need to come home? I had $0 to come home with. I was 2 months behind on my mortgage, 40K behind. I was on food stamps at the time because my friend was that one that kind of knew a little bit. She was like, yo, just, and the only reason I shared it with her because she's struggling too. So I was like, yo, what are my resources? And I didn't tell her how bad it was. It got so bad that when my kids went off to go to their dads, I was in bed the whole time by myself on the couch in a dark room. Right? Never told anybody. And I went into Regina's office one day when I was in the office and I was like, I got to change, this ain't working. I had to take myself up. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so behind on my mortgage. And all she said to me is, stop reinventing the wheel. Just follow the system. And I went, okay. And she goes, Bold is starting. You need to go to Bold. I think that's the Bold that me and you met that January with Rob Daniels. Were you there?
Yeah.
That's the Bold. And I went in there and Bold was $799. I didn't have it. And she goes, just go over there because they might give you a scholarship or you could work it off. I remember sitting through Bold half the way through and I went to her and I said, listen, I'm going to max out my last credit card. And if I don't make it, if I can't invest in myself to make it, I don't deserve it. I said, in worst case scenario, I'll just sell my Louis Vuitton bag, the never full bag that I had bought because I thought I'd made it with 40 grand in credit card debt, priorities, right? And I went to Bold and my whole mindset changed in that Bold. I ended up, getting a lot of pieces of business. I remember having a $17,000 closing that came out of that deal. And within a year or so, I was out of debt and I have not looked back since. I still struggle some days, it's hard. Like, I'm not in a relationship right now. I'm happy by myself. I'm happy, but some days it's lonely, right? Mm-hmm. And when I feel lonely, that's why I go and spend time with my friends. I call my friends, hey, what you doing, none? I'm coming out. I'll fly to see my friends if I need to, So I found ways to make sure that the things that I need, I'm getting from my circles. And that way I'm not in this fight by myself. If I feel down, I call my friends. So I have about, at least 5 really close friends that I can literally call them any time of day. And we have this thing we call Bat Signal. I'm gonna get some tissue, Sorry about that. Told you I was gonna get teary-eyed about this.
Yes,
We have this thing called Bat Signal. And as a matter of fact, when my youngest one moved to Sweden, I came home from the airport and I just lost it. Like I was excited to be a empty nester, but like I felt so alone. Both my babies were gone, right? And my ex-boyfriend happened to be on a business trip. I called my friends and I was like crying. And next thing I know, they show up in my house, my apartment, because I was renting at the time because I was working on finding an investment property. And they showed up in my apartment in onesies and a bottle of wine.
Ah, nice.
So my advice always to women that are going through like these changes is find your tribe. The one that something good happens, they're there to celebrate you. When you are down, they are there to pick you up. And that sisterhood. If you can find a sisterhood, and it's going to come in weird shapes and forms, and it might not be somebody that's like successful as you, or it might not be somebody that looks like you, it might not be somebody that is going through the same journey as you. That doesn't mean anything. The great part about being in these tribes is everybody's different. And the only thing that really keeps us together is the fact that we're sisters.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for being vulnerable enough to share that story. And, we say trouble don't last always. And I heard a couple things that you said. And the first is, I got down in the dumps just like everybody else. I didn't know how I was going to make it, but I trusted someone enough to guide me into the next space. That's number one. And I agreed to follow what they told me to do, like blindly follow. You and I both know that, Bold, if you do the work, the business is coming. And so oftentimes we find ourselves stuck in a rut and don't even know what to do. And what I'm hearing you say is find somebody to partner with, find a group, find a church, find some girlfriends, find somebody. There is somebody there that will help you. And another key thing is you have to open your mouth to say, hey, I'm struggling. And
that's the first part. That's the first part. Be vulnerable and be transparent, because there's been times where I've met a total stranger and we start talking and I kind of, I'm always the open book. I'm like, yeah, I went through da-da-da. It was tough. And I went through depression, da-da-da. And they're like, oh my God, so did I. Next thing they're sharing stuff that they probably would have never shared to nobody else. And out of the blue, you have literally created this bond and become best friends in less than like a week. Like that's happened before. Right?
Yeah. One of the I'm so thankful that you agreed to speak, because part of this whole podcast is for me to like really get my life back, right? Mm-hmm. And being connected to women who are, even if they're from afar, you see them going through things and you're watching them along the journey get their life back. And so you realize that you can lean into people, whether you're close to them, like physically close, or you can find them on social media and you're like, man, if she can do it, I can do it. And that's what it's all about, is being able to say, things happen to us all. It's how we choose to respond, whether we have the skills or we don't have the skills. It's up to us to be able to say, I ain't really got it right now, but I'm still waking up every day, which means God got something for me to do on this planet at any given moment. And even though I don't like what's happening at this moment, I'm going to commit myself to doing something different, even if I don't know how to do it right now.
Mm-hmm. So, I think it's great you're starting this podcast, because so many times we find ourselves in a situation and we go, oh, what do I do? Guess what? The situation you find yourself in, you are not the only one. Absolutely. So one of the things I always do is when I feel like something really bad happened to me or something, whatever, how I get past that? I always look at what could have been worse.
Absolutely.
And when I look at what could have been worse, I'm like, well, then my situation right here ain't that bad. Like, that's how I offset it in my brain to take whatever I felt like negative or bad that happened to me, even the breakup. I was hurt. Like we were together 5.5 years. I just knew that we were going to get married and we had already planned a future together. And when that happened, I gave myself like a day to be in, oh my gosh, I wasted 5.5 years. And then I went, no, I didn't. I had an amazing time. We traveled the world, and what could have been worse? Like, honestly, there's so many other worse scenarios that could have happened in that one. We would have stayed together, got married, and then decided we're not, had to go through a divorce with him and all that stuff. We're going to have to, like, I literally looked at it from a different angle. And looking at it from a different angle made me then have much more peace. And go, yeah, I'm glad that, we decided this is not working for us now. And I'm excited about what the future holds. Remember, God doesn't give you anything you're not able to handle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. So we're going to wrap up now. You have been an amazing, amazing guest. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Do you want to
Oh,
leave?
thanks for giving me a platform.
You're welcome. You want to leave with some last words? Let's tell our audience how they can find you. You can talk about how we can find you on social and tell a little bit about your business coaching and how they can reach out to you for that.
Awesome. Yeah. So on social, my regular Facebook and page is Natalie Vuoriaho, V as in Victor, Uoriaho. And on Instagram, I'm Natalie V Realtor. And then I have a business page as well. And I think you're going to put that in the information too. My number is 404-844-9406. Shoot me a text. And my email is natalie@vuoriahogroup.com. And also Coach V at mymapscoach.com. So those are my two emails. And of course, if you need real estate help in Atlanta, Tisha is your girl. Okay, this is her podcast, not me. But if you're and what I'm looking for is 5 people to fill my coaching roster. And really what that means is a business owner, somebody that's in sales, and you have to have somebody that's going to help you hold you accountable, but also help you build and get better. Every athlete has a coach, and there's a reason for it, right? And so I'm definitely looking to fill that. I also do corporate training and organization, things like that, leadership training. I have a business planning clinic coming up in January. So if you can put that post on there, it's actually a free one. A friend of mine is paying for it. She's a financial advisor. Her name is Nakia. So she's making it complimentary. So if you are a business owner or thinking about starting a business, you might want to jump on that. It's free. And it's going to be in, I think, January 18th, if I remember correctly. So I have to double check that.
Yeah, I'll find the link and put it in. What I will tell to the audience is I've been in your classes and you provide so much amazing value. I mean,
Thank you.
systems, and you're so helpful, and your assistant was so wonderful, and I've implemented. I just follow that's what Natalie said. That's what she's doing. That's what I'm getting ready to do, and it has been so helpful. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. See, that's what I would rather get, those kind of feedbacks than a big paycheck. Like that makes me happy, right?
Well, I want you to get both. I want you to get the paycheck and the feedback. So you can travel.
Yeah, and I will say this. My advice, and I wish I would have known this a long time ago. Couple of pieces of advice I give young kids when I run across them is one, always come from a place of contribution. And when you do that, things tend to fall in your lap. Good things happen to you, right? 2, always look at the glass as half full, not half empty, right? And then 3, love yourself. Like, put yourself first. Stop putting other, and people are like, well, that's selfish. It's not. Everybody that comes in your life, if you got somebody that's consistently training you, you need to cut them out. You put yourself first. Even if they're family, it doesn't matter. Like, you have one person that you are accountable for, and it's you. Even if you're a parent, I know people say, no, it's my kids. If you're no good, your kids are not good. Absolutely. So, those are my few pieces of advice that I always tell people.
I love it. Thank you so much, Natalie. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I want to know when you're back in town so we can meet for dinner. All right?
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.